Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on the second day of August 2022, and I'm in studio with Saitabao Kanchory, who is the chief agent of a presidential candidate of Azimio la Umoja movement, that is one Raila Odinga, and also Veronica Maina, who is the Secretary General of UDA and also deputy chief agent for the candidacy of William Ruto, presidential candidate under UDA. And of course, we're here speaking about the road to the election. Of course, we started off by talking about what has been alleged in the Rift Valley. And we'll shortly be looking at some of the feedback that you've been sharing with us via Twitter, Citizen TV Kenya, at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is Daybreak. As soon as we have that, we'll be in a position to go through them. Engineer Lazaro, you're saying that politicians should tone down their flaring tempers and inflammatory statements at their rallies. This madness must now stop. Election isn't the end of everything. Kenya will exist and Kenyans will still need each other after 9th of August. Chalo Wodrozi, you're saying that Kenyans should be allowed to vote for whoever they want without intimidation. Kenya is for us all, and everyone has a right to live anywhere he or she wants. Politics come and go, and whoever is elected will be the president for all Kenyans. Let's embrace each other. Then Bob Otieno, it's a pity leaflets politics being experienced in this era. Government should move with speed and hold those behind them responsible. I thought this kind of politics ended during former president's era. And of course, we'll be waiting for more from you as you share your feedback with us. On the front page of the Daily Nation, President Raila, it's now or never. A new layer of tarmac, a fresh coat of paint, new water and drainage connections, tighter security and a stately air around Bondo. Is this a sign of things to come for the most famous son of this land? And I was saying that forget 2007, if ever there was a good chance for Raila Odinga to be president, this is it. That's according to the Daily Nation. But Kanchory, of course, even the opinion polls are showing it's a chance for either William Ruto or Raila Odinga. And as we get into your brief as a chief agent, then what do you think is the most prominent thing that makes it better for Raila and not Ruto? And I'll ask the same question to Veronica here.
I think, thank you, Sam, and that's a very good question, I think, because we are at a very important moment in our country, a moment where this country, for the first time in 60 years, is really able to come together. The Azimio la Umoja philosophy is a philosophy of bringing Kenyans together. And there's something, Sam, that is not being appreciated enough because of the environment that we are in and because of that silly season of nothing being interrogated for what it really is. Mm-hmm. The coming together of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is such an important historic event that it will go down in the annals of this country and in the annals of our history as a moment that, as a watershed moment. It is a moment that this country can reflect at a later time when all this madness of politics is done and dusted. Mm-hmm. We will be able to reflect and say, how were these two gentlemen able to correct such an atrocious historical error or historical mistake? Because the coming together of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga is a correction of history. Which is? Which is their fathers, Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Odinga. Those two started off so well at independence. Then the minute they broke ranks, and Jaramogi went his way and Jomo Kenyatta went his way, that was the beginning. That is the time that the rain started to beat us as a country. We need to distinguish between two things. We need to distinguish between nation building and building a nation. This country has been busy for the last 60 years trying to do the latter, which is building a nation. Building a nation is talking about the infrastructure, talking about the human resource, talking about education, talking about the roads, talking about all this. But there's something else called nation building, not building a nation. So nation building is a software. It is the mental and the attitudes of a people So I'll give you just an example to, so Tanzania has been very good at nation building. They have the philosophy of you are a Tanzanian first. There is no tribalism. There is no, even corruption is not really deep-rooted. So it's been busy for the last 60 years building, doing nation building. Ethiopia, on the other hand, has been very good at doing the infrastructure, which is building a nation. And the problem with building a nation and forgetting nation building is you can build and you can do nation building. And you can put up roads, you can put up airports. Ethiopia is a very advanced African country. But in one spur of the moment, just at the spur of the moment, all that can be destroyed if you did not build a nation. So what they're doing is building a nation.
And you think the coming together of Raila Odinga and
is nation building.
Uhuru Kenyatta is the solution? How about the rest of Kenyans?
So bringing the leadership is everything, Sam. Leadership is everything. The problems that we face as a country have nothing to do with the common people. The problems that we face as a country have everything to do with the leadership that we have had.
And how do you reflect on the past,
and that is why we need to elect
past 9 years? Afraha Stadium, I think it was 2012, December 10th maybe, I'm not sure about the date. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta come together and say that we are burying the hatchet and we are uniting the communities of Rift Valley and Mount Kenya. 10 years down the line, they're not seeing eye to eye. In fact, they're speaking at each other.
It's a good question, but it's a simple question, and I'll give you a simple answer. The coming together of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto was a marriage of convenience. They were, at the time, indictees of the ICC, the International Criminal Court. We tend to forget that. They came together to save their necks, and they were able to do that. The coming together of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, they are not being forced by any circumstances. It's a coming together that is based on ideology, the ideology of unifying this country.
SG Veronica, what ticks for William Ruto better than Raila Odinga?
Thank you for that question. And I think the debate is taking the right direction, where we can talk about our candidates, sell our candidates, bring people to interest on the manifesto of our candidate and the plan they have for Kenya. And I would want to introduce you to a leader, Dr. William Samuel Ruto, who is well known to Kenyans anyway. He may not even need introduction, but I would only want to raise a few qualities of his leadership that then makes him the best leader that Kenya can have in days to come. A man who is God-fearing, very supportive, a person who listens, a person who has connected with Kenyans, a person who has gone to every county, who has gone to villages, sat in county forums, listened to the need of the people, listen to the articulation of the lowest, the highest, the professional, the teacher, listen to everybody on the things that are ailing them within their counties, and developed a plan together with Kenyans, with other Kenyans, and together with partners who are in Kenya Kwanza, sat and come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to address the plight of the Kenyans. While history has been quoted on the other side, we have avoided concentrating our energies on our opponent. Kenya Kwanza has concentrated on the Kenyan. The dialogue has been changed in Kenya. The dialogue now is about the ordinary Kenyan. What are they looking for? What is ailing them? What are the solutions? Those solutions have not been developed on a boardroom. Those solutions have been developed in a manifesto, which we call the plan at the Kenya Kwanza, where economy, you take the central part, the plight of young people who have been without jobs, millions of young people stranded, their livelihoods not knowing where the future is, a robust solution to the current issues that are facing our Kenyans, our young people, a robust solution to issues on agriculture, issues on health, issues on education, issues on pesa mfukoni. Now, pesa mfukoni meaning the needs, the basic needs that people are not able to meet today. How do we find a solution for the mamba boga? Removing of Shylocks, high interest rate on capital when it comes to small businesses. It's a concentration of widening the base. The base of how much income is coming in as opposed to expenditure. We have had a situation where the politics have been about how do we divide the resources. Like the money is here now. You are assuming the fund is there. So how do we divide the resources? The conversation has changed. It has gone to how do we become more productive? How do we optimize the resources that we have as Kenyans?
Okay.
And how do we then make the Kenyan the benefactor of a growth of an economy? That is the conversation at Kenya Kwanza. We're looking at farmers who have cows and how the productivity of those cows can become better so they can afford education, they can afford quality health care, they can afford access to certain services which are basic, which they have not been able to afford. And of course, they can have income-generating activities around them so that we can together turn around under the leadership of Dr. William Ruto. And if you are looking at...
if your candidate wins the election, then they will have to start implementing what exactly you're saying. And I've had the opportunity to go through the manifesto.
Yes.
But when you listen to your colleague here, Kanchory, nation building versus building a nation, are those terminologies that you can reflect on? And what exactly, if we are to restrict ourselves to that, whatever you're proposing, does it speak to nation building or building a nation, if at all you ascribe?
It depends with how you want to define a nation building. Now, nation building is not defined by one person called Kanchory, who skews his understanding of how nation building comes around and now throws it to some, and some now wants me to define nation building the way it's defined.
That's why I asked if you actually agree with that
nation building
kind of analogy.
Is more comprehensive. You're looking at development, which is holistic. Development holistic in economy, if that is the one that is ailing the country the most, getting this nation out of the debt situation, which it has been put into by the current regime, nation building by correcting governance issues. We have spoken into issues of gender. We have spoken into issues of women participating in the cabinet on a 50% basis. We have spoken into getting more focused in terms of what you want with the governance system. Are we looking for constitutional amendments, or are we looking for BBI, or are we looking into the welfare of the Kenyans? If that is not nation building, I will not understand what nation building is. But people can look at nation building differently. Because if you look at this Daily Nation today, I want you to tell me how many people you are seeing on this page. How many people are you seeing just by reading? No politics, nothing. How many people? Tell me which ones. There is a Jomo Kenyatta, there is a President Kenyatta, there is the Honorable Raila Odinga and his father right there. We have two fathers, we have two sons. We have a whole headline saying President Raila, ? It is now or never. That's our leading newspaper in Kenya. That is what it's looking at today. If I were in this, I'm not an editor and I'm not an expert in this area, I would have balanced this page. I would have put one side, because this is more of historical issues being brought here, a settlement of two groupings of people, and you can see who they are. I'm just reading the newspaper.
Veronica, I don't think it's fair for me to sit here to criticize another media house. I think they have...
No, I'm not criticizing.
Their own editorial guidelines.
You gave us this, Sam.
Yes, fine.
I'm sorry if I have read the newspaper and it doesn't make you happy.
No, it's not
I just looked at it.
Veronica, it's not about me. I'm just saying this is a special report. The Daily Nation have their own decisions. They have their own way that they do things. So let's just leave it at that. We deal with the content, yeah?
Yes, yes.
And I want us to move on, because 6 days to the election, you have such a huge
But may I just say some, just
10 seconds?
10 seconds. You know, we are talking about solutions. And my sister Veronica says they don't like to look at the history. They want to look at the future, which is a good...
We are looking at people...
Just
may I just...
what ails them? Okay.
Yeah, but you see, Sam, you cannot prescribe solutions without looking at what is the problem. Yeah? And the reason that we have to go back and interrogate where did we go wrong is because that is where the problem will be diagnosed. Even when you go to the hospital, you don't go to the hospital and the doctor just looks at you from that moment. They ask you, what have you eaten yesterday? What allergies do you have? Do you have any family history? So history is an important part of diagnosing the problem. So if you want to, and the problem with and I don't want to say this because Veronica will get agitated, but the problem is if someone feels that history does not judge them too kindly, they don't want to go there. But if you want a solution, you cannot avoid history.
Okay. All right. Talking about what...
And maybe to just my 30 seconds on that, I'm a peacemaker. In this sense, my whole orientation is peacemaking and moderation. If this headline can help the two families make peace, so be it. At least two will have been resolved. For the Kenyans, we will help them on the 9th of August.
You know.
Okay, let me say this.
SG Veronica, as you talk about
I'm responding to him on the history.
Let's just focus on the conversation here.
Yes.
Because even as you talk about that, there's also another conflict.
Can I finish,
There's
please?
a conflict that is brewing between the president and his deputy. I don't know whether in future we'll have an opportunity for them to come together, because we live in a country where the leadership is so key to how even Kenyans behave. So we cannot ignore that, can we?
No, we can't. Let me say this. We can't. And we cannot ignore when there is a conflict, even for you within this work environment. If you have a conflict with a manager here, conflict resolution mechanism must be found even within an institution. And it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing, by the way, Sam. Because unless you resolve conflict, the escalation of that conflict then drives people to the next level, Okay. So what I'm saying is this, Sam.
Yes.
For Kenyans to peacefully decide on who becomes their leader on 9th of August, I continue to insist, let people be allowed to walk peacefully in an environment that is not manufactured or built around certain fundamentals by certain individuals to take away the element of peace so that when they are walking on 9th of August, they are almost reaching their battered, limping because of what they have gone through.
Okay.
We are saying all the institutions come out to Kenyans, assure Kenyans, give them peace as they walk towards 9th of August, and peace it shall be when we determine.
You asked for 30 seconds.
Yes.
That has been a minute. Now, by the way, these two worked together and Jubilee Alliance Party. Remember that? Just before the merger to form Jubilee Party, they were together. Now they're in different camps for different presidential candidates. And it's now 25 minutes past 7 o'clock. At a time like this next week, it will be 1 hour, 25 minutes after the polls open. And that's why we're here, because we need to talk about that entire process. And let me begin by, because you have a huge task to protect the interests of your candidates. What exactly are you supposed to do on that day? Because 46,229 polling stations across the country, what are you going to do? Do you have agents across all those areas?
So some, yes. I have been given the most difficult job in the world. And I say that with clarity of mind. Because I've been given the job to protect the votes of Raila Amolo Odinga. The votes which have been in the past highly susceptible to monkey business. They have been highly susceptible to being stolen, to put it plainly. And therefore, my job is to ensure this time that does not happen. And I want to assure you some, and the Kenyan public at large, that on the 9th of August, as we turn out to vote, please go and vote. Vote because your vote will count and your vote will be counted, whoever you are. And the person who rightfully wins this election will be declared the winner. This time around, we have put systems and mechanisms in place to ensure that there will be no monkey business. And I hope that answers your question.
So 46,229, do you have representatives across all those stations? We
have more than representatives. We have enough agents across the country. You know, Azimio is one movement that we, first of all, we bring together 24 political parties as a party. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya political party. Yeah? so a coalition political party. And
right.
First of all, you know, we have a wide reach. We have more people than we require in terms of securing the vote. And in fact, our challenge has not been getting the people. It has been just selecting who to be where. And of course, everyone in our movement is extremely essential, and they will be deployed where they will be most effective. But in terms of the security of the vote, we have a very robust agents system, management system, that will ensure that every polling station, every polling center, and I'm saying this deliberately, I'm starting from the polling station to the polling center, to the tallying center, the constituency tallying center, and for our governors and senators and so on, the county tallying centers, and of course the national tallying center. Each and every one of those theaters of operation in terms of this election, we will be fully and effectively manned on election day and on results transmission day.
So that's in as far as human resource is concerned. But how will you use whatever they gather?
Well, we also have the necessary tools to ensure that we get these results expeditiously. We have the necessary tools to ensure that the results that we get are tallied accurately, verifiably, expeditiously, efficiently. And we will have results. We will have, I want to project to the Kenyan public this morning, the second day of August, this year of our Lord 2022, that we will be the first ones to call this election before anyone else. Okay. Because our system, and we will not call it in terms of declaring, but we will be able, by perhaps midnight, just before the turn of the hour, on the 9th, we will be able to tell the Kenyan public how we are doing in terms of the results that have. Okay,
I hear you, and I'll get back to that. SG Veronica, so what's your plan like across the polling stations?
I will start by, my brother is pushing me to issues of history. As you will recall, UDA did a very robust nomination process across the 47 counties. We were everywhere during the nomination. In the same way that we did nominations, in the same way we did our nomination, our party primaries in the 47 counties, we have ensured that in all the 47 counties, all the polling stations, centers, tallying centers, national tallying center, constituency, county, we will have agents across the 46,232 polling stations.
I thought IBC reduced them to 229.
Yes, they are reduced, but we will have agents across the whole network of the polling stations that will be availed for voting. Now, we will deploy in such a manner that 24 round the clock, 24 hours round the clock, and even the following day, if the process is not completed, we will be able to have shifting of those agents in different shifts to make sure there is not a single moment that we will not have worked out to have an agent in the station. We already are aware of the kind of a tally that is out there. We can already see in predictions and polls, accurate polls have been done, not some of the ones that we've been reading, but the ones we have even done internally, the ones that we have depended on from independent polls. We know the kind of a poll that our candidate is holding in terms of the presidential vote. And we want to assure all the voters that...
What is it showing you?
Do not, let me first finish the agents, I'll tell you about the polls. We want to assure all the voters and all our supporters that not a single vote that will be cast in favor of our presidential candidate is going to go to waste. It will be counted, it will be tallied. For IEBC, we are praying and hoping and believing and trusting that they will be dependent and will be able to do the right thing. We do not want to be favored by IEBC. All we need IEBC to do, not to favor anybody, but to do the right thing, be accurate, verify the vote, declare the right result, and we know for a fact at the polling station, that's where the presidential result will be declared. So we'll be looking out. We'll have a very specific angle, a view on the polling stations to ensure that the vote that has been cast in that place is the same one that is being declared by the presiding officer. Let me finish. You give him his time to finish.
I'm not disrupting. Yeah. Carry on.
Now, at the tallying centers, we'll have our teams working at the tallying centers, the IEBC tallying centers. So we'll have a concrete team there, and we'll have concrete team both at constituency tallying center, county tallying centers, right up to the national tallying centers. And when the results are collated in the evening and announced, we will have a system at those polling stations to ensure that the result that has been taken there, the image of that Form 34A, will now be transmitted to us for collation of those results in the evening. For us, the idea is not to do the competition of announcing it first, because we know our announcement will be subject to what the IEBC will announce. But for us is to ensure that we have a system, a very well coordinated system that ensures that our results have come in. So we have embarked on recruitment of agents, training of those agents, and we will ensure that every agent has been trained, is able to have a phone to take that result, because we do not want stories or text being written. We want the image. This time around, even IEBC is going to be using the image. The image is the one that is going to be showing the result. So we are well prepared for that.
What app are you using?
We have an app for transmission.
Yes.
No, we have no, I don't need to answer that, because
I mean,
it's an internal results transmission
True, but
system.
I'm saying that you're using phones. I'm just wondering, could it be WhatsApp? Could it be something else? What are you using to transmit?
Anything will work. Even WhatsApp can work. We can have our own technical results system. We are open to all manner of technology that would be needed to just make sure there is a communication. You know, the results transmission, Sam, is not even a very complex thing. You just need the image, the correct, accurate image.
But the processing can be. So
yes, the processing can be a bit tough.
The party primaries that you referred to, that you had in April, you had about 15,000 polling stations. You had elections for governorship, there were 13, Senate, there were 18, women rep 28, constituency MPs 138, MCA races 834. If I'm just to focus on the number of polling stations that you had, it's just a third of the 46,000.
Who gave you that data?
It came from your team, the elections board.
You needed, I think you needed to...
I attended a press conference, and those are the figures.
You needed to reconfirm. We carried out elections in very many areas.
Well,
very many areas.
SG, these are figures of the party that you're discounting. They came from Engineer Mora, the chair of the elections board. So let's... but anyway,
you see whatever other
figures you may have, that's just a third.
The nominations
Can I get
that
the question?
we have.
So the question is, how do you process these results? Because you can get transmissions, whether it's WhatsApp or whatever platform. How do you process it? And you're saying that you're not keen on being the first to announce, but how will you be using that?
Oh, no, you see why I'm saying that, why I'm discounting that is because the fact that one coalition chooses to say, I will announce my result at 5:30, that by itself does not render that result the most accurate result. The result that will be relied on by Kenyans will be the IEBC result. What ourselves will be looking for is the accurate results from all the polling stations, because those results collated together are the ones that are going to give you the presidential vote count. That's the one that is going to be used. And we do have a system, definitely. we have a results transmission system, and that's the one we will use to ensure that all the data is collated and is very easy to manage when it comes to the tallying of the data. And I believe even the media has been given a right to collate those results. And I guess what the chairman is trying to do is to ensure that Kenyans have confidence that the process is verifiable, it's accountable, and that they are not afraid of anyone just looking at the result that is coming from the polling stations. Yes.
Okay. All right. Halfway you haven't answered my question. But Kanchory, how do you process these results? Yes, you're saying that you'll be first to tally and even tell Kenyans, update them on how far you are. But what are you using? And how should Kenyans treat that information, knowing that the results that you count is what IBC gives?
Yeah, so the results that, the results that we give, will be subject to what IBC gives. But even IBC is not getting these results from the skies. It is getting them from the polling stations. So, and these are the same polling stations we will be getting the results from. All right? So it is very clear, the law on the issue of what is the final result is not a matter for conjecture. What happens, the results that will be announced at the polling station, right, are final for purposes of the presidential election. And those results will be collated and tabulated in the now famous Form 34A. So what Form 34A says in whatever polling station out of the 46,229 official polling stations in this country, whatever a Form 34A that has been signed by all the agents, and we are talking about a genuine Form 34A,
right,
that has been given to the agents, it has been given to the media, it has been given to others who are there at the polling station, and it has been pasted at the door
of the polling station.
And that is a final result.
Sure.
And so therefore, that is also what we will be relying on. And if we are able to give the results from those polling stations before IBC, there will be no reason for IBC to give a different set of results, or even for our opponents to give a different set of results.
The reason I'm asking that, Kanchory, because yes, of course, you're serving the interest of your candidate, but also the interest of Kenyans would be bigger. Because imagine a situation, you have your own outcome that you're announcing to the country. Kenya Kwanza has its own outcome, and they are at variance. What does that spell to the country?
So, of course, the official results will be the IBC.
Official results.
Whatever, even IBC.
If you announce you're ahead, they announce they're ahead, then IBC comes and says, no.
We just need voter education. Let me just chip in so that it's easy. We just need voter education to know, to know that even Sam can announce his own results. Even me on the streets can announce unofficially my own results. But the announcement that helps you is the IEBC announcement. So for me, Kenya Kwanza, Kenya Kwanza, we have oriented our people to know that once an announcement is made by IEBC, that becomes the final. Meaning what? Even if we announced and we had a difference of, say, 5 votes between what we have tallied and what IBC has tallied, we will quickly guide our people that we go by the vote of the IEBC, because that's the one that is constitutionally mandated to tally and announce those results, to tally, declare, announce, and now sign up another form called Form 34D, the one that gives the certificate to the president. Finally, the end process, when it begins with Form 34A, that Form 34A keeps moving until we have the final certificate that now goes to the presidential candidate. Right. And in between the Form 34A up to the declaration of who is the president, the idea is to continually, in the middle, continually advise and guide the voters that this is what we are doing and this is what you should be looking out to. So that even if the media does its own results, and that result is not in tandem with what IBC has announced, we must respect the institution of the IBC.
That is true, and thank you for that piece of civic education. But in an instance, you know, if it's the arithmetic totals that are not tallying, that's easy. But if it's the real outcome that shows from your tally, William Ruto is ahead, or is the winner of the election, but IBC comes and says, no, it's actually supposed to be Raila Odinga. if you've already spoken to your supporters that William Ruto is winning it, then IBC has a different outcome. How do you manage such a situation?
Now, how you manage is that there is something now called the judiciary. You may not agree with the result that IBC has given, and you feel you are aggrieved. You don't agree with that result. What is the next plan? Because you must have an action, a flow, a roadmap towards the goal that you're looking for. Your next button to press is to say, we are prepared. You can be sure. Both camps, you'll be prepared for petitioning if something has gone. Because not both we are going to get the presidency, by the way. It is only one who is getting the presidency. So there is one of us, Azimio, or ourselves, and I hope not ourselves, who will be petitioning the judiciary, saying that, oh, my result, I should have become the president, and I've seen the way things have gone here, I'm not the president. So one of us, one of the coalitions, will go to court on petition. So if the results don't agree, yes?
Are you already preparing for that?
Everybody prepares for that.
Are you already preparing for that?
We have legal teams. I can say that for a fact, that Kenya Kwanza, we have a very solid, steady legal team that would be prepared for anything.
Okay. So, Kanchory...
Can I answer the preparation part?
Yes, just note it down so that you combine with this part.
Okay.
Knowing the tricky situation we find ourselves in every election season as Kenyans wait for results. And I remember 2017, I was at the Bomas of Kenya. IBC was just about to declare the results. Then I saw the NASA team come, give a press conference and say they do not recognize the results that are just about to be announced. And they were calling on the chairman of IBC to hold before announcing and declaring. Of course, the chairman thought he was done with the process, went ahead to declare the results, and eventually ended up at the court. And of course, it was nullified because of process. How do you think you're the chief agents. How do you think is the best way to manage the parallel tally you come up with?
So the best way to manage any tallying, whether you're talking about, that it starts from the polling station. Because even at the polling station, you're tallying votes in the form 34A. So the best way is to ensure that the information you get is accurate. Accuracy is key. So yes, we want to be expeditious and speedy, but our system is focused first of all on accuracy. We know and we understand very, very well that there will be no value in us saying we have attained 35 million votes if that is not the case. So we want the votes that we declare, and I've said 35 million votes deliberately, because it's not realistic. We want the votes that we say we have attained and also our opponents have attained to be reflective of what is the accurate position in terms of what the results are from the polling stations. And the other thing that just to add to what my sister said, because it is accurate, she has said that whatever we'll be tallying really is not official. Whatever the parties will be tallying, the presidential candidates will be tallying through their agents and their machinery is not the accurate, not accurate, it's not the official results, right? Even what the IBC will be tallying, and by the way, this should actually go on record, that IBC will have, they will do their own electronic tallying, but not now, not in the way they were doing through systems or streaming. But they will do, when they get the forms, they will do their own tallying. But even that will not be official. It will be provisional until they get the physical forms. That's what they have said. And I think Veronica will agree with me on this. They have said that they will only make the final declaration when they have all the physical forms. It is now the responsibility, once they have said that, it is their responsibility to ensure that the physical forms get to them in the most expeditious manner. Because we also don't want an election that keeps the country on tenterhooks, for days on end.
So for you, will you also be using will you also be using the forms from IBC's portal, or you just rely on your agents?
We will use those only for verification.
Verification.
Yeah, we'll use those just to reference. But we will use primarily in our system, we will use the forms from our agents. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, there is something that maybe he did not respond to, and I'm not becoming the interviewer, about what happened in 2017. About accepting results, because that's important, and that's a conversation we should have before next week. Because we are 6 days shy of the voting day, and both of us need to know that we need to accept the result that you come out on 9th of August, whether we feel it is not the right thing or whether we feel it is not the correct one. We must accept the result and kick in the next button if it's for a petition or if it is an action that is legal that needs to be done. That's important for Kenyans, and that's why I'm raising it. So that when we come on 9th of August, we are not the politicals are not the ones holding Kenyans hostage because somebody feels that they have their own tallying system, which has shown that they have a majority of votes. But the other systems are showing, the IBC official announcement is showing that maybe the one who is saying has the majority of votes does not have the majority of votes. So I think it's important for myself, my colleague, to undertake that whatever result the IBC announces on that day, it's the result that is going to be accepted.
What's your brief, Kanchory, in as far as you report back to your candidate, what's the brief like if you realize that the tally of IBC does not tally with what you have?
If there is any variance between what we have and what IBC has, and that is why even what they have until the last declaration is provisional. It is only the declaration that becomes final. So even they should, the IBC, because we will be there with them, they should be open for verification, right? And they should be open to, because if a form comes to them and we have a different form, then we need to tell them, hold this one, because there is a contradiction. Could we resolve this contradiction?
Okay.
And that is a reasonable thing to do. But on the issue that my sister is trying to drag me into, which you have not asked, let me answer your question, not hers. And I will answer her question in this manner. Her candidate, the deputy president, has already said publicly that he will go to court.
Right.
Yeah, he has said he will go to court. And we welcome that, because it will be the first time he's going to court. On our part, we will...
Is he allowed to misquote our candidate? You know, you must put that statement within the context which he said it. He said it in the context of accepting results.
If he's dissatisfied.
So, can you start with the first sentence before coming to the second sentence of how you go to court? Because the first sentence is... There must be
not let me finish a sentence.
There is a conjunction of if.
All right. I have no problem because you guys are representing your principles.
That sentence begins like this, Sam, so that I can help you for the day before 9th. The sentence begins like that.
Veronica.
After 9th of August, when the results are announced, I will accept the results. You address the acceptance, then you come to any other condition.
SG, let me help you.
Yes.
Whatever Kanchory says does not change what the deputy president said.
No, I agree, but I need to clear it so that
Kanchory,
you know, we have viewers also watching Kanchory.
And they also
giving such a statement,
must have listened,
and they'll be very alarmed.
They must have listened to your principle.
Yes.
Kanchory will not change what he said anyway. So just carry on, Kanchory.
Yeah. So I was saying, you know, once the results come out, we first of all, in terms of preparation, I know that they are preparing to go to court. They are preparing, and they have been doing it, and that's why they are doing all these letters to say chiefs are doing this, CSS are doing this.
Preparing yourselves.
We are not preparing to go to. We are preparing to defend our win. That's what we are preparing to do.
So that
we
is
are
not
preparing
going
to
court?
defend our win.
How will you defend your win? Where?
We will defend it in court once they go to court.
That's the same thing.
No, we are not preparing to go to court. There is a difference between going to court and answering to someone who has gone to court.
Maybe I think now what he's suggesting is this. They are actually prepared once we are announced as the winners. Once the deputy president becomes the president, they have actually said we won't bother with the court.
has not said that. So let's just focus.
I am trying to read what he's saying by saying they are not going to court.
Let's make progress and talk about the preparations by the IEBC. I know last week you had a session with the IEBC and you agreed on what will happen to the second series of the Form 34As. They'll not be used, but also we understand that today the IEBC is to put up voter registers at polling stations.
Yes.
That is on page 4 of the Standard. And of course, this is in line with the preparations for the election. But when you look at how far IEBC has come, what is your level of satisfaction? Who wants to go first? What is the level of satisfaction? Can I begin with you?
Yes.
What is your level of satisfaction? And are there things that you still feel IEBC needs to fix?
So that is actually such an important question at this late hour. How prepared do we feel IEBC is? You know, Sam, the election that we have is an election that belongs to the Kenyan people. It is not an election, it is not IEBC's election. It is an election that, you know, the stakeholders are the Kenyan people. The stakeholders of this election are actually even wider than the Kenyan people. It goes even beyond the voters. It goes to even foreigners who live in this country have an interest in and a stake in the election in this country, because they will be here after the election, and there are investors and there are other people who have an interest in us ensuring that the election is credible, is free and fair. Do you know even unborn children have an interest in this election, because it determines which country they get born into. I am saying that for this reason. I think IEBC started us off a little on the wrong footing, because IEBC initially mistook independence, which nobody is contesting, to impunity. I mean, with impunity. When they started us off, and I was the first one, Sam and you were there, I was the first one to call them out, because they were prescribing to Kenyans, they were dictating to Kenyans what they're going to, how they're going to run this election, without consulting Kenyans, without involving Kenyans, without... And unfortunately for IEBC, they're dealing with a very informed and alert Kenyan public. And they have had to deal with a barrage of accusations, a barrage of, concerns, including from the media, you know, on different things which now they have been forced to rectify. Now, to answer your question, and it's really an important question, IEBC has had to catch up with the expectations of the Kenyan public. They have had to play catch up, because the Kenyan public have very high expectations on the kind of election they want. IEBC did not have that realization of how high the standards of the Kenyan public were. And so, and because they were not involving them initially, they had almost wanted to run the show without involvement of the public. They have been forced now to come back to ground level and listen to all the stakeholders. So some of our concerns...
On, what date was it? 9th of June, 2022. One of your concerns, or some of your concerns, were talking about the 2,900 polling stations that they were conducting a simulation on. And the process of receiving the results was very slow. And you said that the confidence levels of Kenyans in IEBC were pretty low. And of course, that didn't go very well with the Commissioner Gulia. They did a repeat simulation a few weeks ago. I think it was in the month of July, out of 580 polling stations, if my count is correct, and they got nearly 90% of performance. Are you satisfied now? I heard yesterday them say that they are raising the number from 1111, the polling stations without 3G connectivity, to 1,200 plus. Are you satisfied with the result transmission system now?
Not quite. So the simulation of the 9th of June was really, to use just a very plain word, was a sham. There was no simulation at all. And I think they later realized, that exercise was a failure, and they organized a subsequent one some 2 weeks ago, where they showed how their system is intended to work. Even the one that they organized, because the first simulation they had tried to do 2,900 polling stations. It was a complete disaster. We had practically, we took 4 hours and hardly you know, some of us left. I think even Veronica,
about 40%.
Yes, even Veronica, I saw her living without all the before the election. She left before me. Before the election, all the elections, all the results came.
The Azimio is the way they speak things.
No, may I finish?
They speak things which are not.
Let's focus on the transmission was only successful to the.
We have the video clips of you leaving, but
no, you don't, Kanchory.
I'm sorry.
That's unfortunate. I think you need to raise the level of debate.
May I conclude on my point? May I conclude on my point? So the subsequent simulation, which they did 2 weeks ago, they simulated 580 polling stations, and it still took about 4 hours for the results to fully come in. And so it is our hope and expectation that they are still improving on that system, because if we are to look at the 580 coming in 4 hours, then 46,229 will take probably more than 7 days, which is beyond the legal limit. Okay. All right. So, but in terms of, to answer your question conclusively, so that I can allow my sister to have her time, the IBC has absolutely no excuse, right, to not to be prepared. They have been highly resourced by the Kenyan public. You know, they have been given billions of Kenya shillings at the taxpayers' expense to ensure that they have a credible, free, fair election that is efficient, that is an election that will be satisfactory. Okay. So, and they have defended everything that we have told them. They have defended, you know, virtually almost saying that my head is on this. You know, Wafula Chebukati and his commissioners have been very clear that they will take personal responsibility for anything that goes wrong. All right, with their preparation.
I hear you. So, SG, just to correct, you said the second simulation was 480 polling stations. Unless I'm mistaken, it was 580.
Yeah, 580.
So that's an understatement of 100. But SG, Veronica, your level of confidence, I mean, your leader, William Ruto, has said that he has no issues with IBC. But in terms of the process, because process was the breaking point for the 2017 August 8th election, how satisfied are you in what's being done?
In my very, very honest opinion, IBC has never been more prepared for election than it is this time around. I have a lot of confidence that IEBC really wants, they appear to really want to push and do what the right thing is to do for Kenyans on 9th of August. And of course, they have had their own challenges because of the several things that they have to achieve. There are several things, milestones that they have to achieve in order to render to Kenyans a very successful election. But I begin from this point. My approach always is optimism on institutions, especially when they are not going rogue, completely rogue. I think IBC has put in a framework that should help them deliver a credible election on the 9th of August. If they can play this whole exercise by the book without favoring anybody. And we know that in spite of the pressure that IBC has gone through, you saw, for instance, the issue of the Venezuelan when they came in and there was a tiff between them and other institutions. Yet they consistently addressed the Kenyans on what was happening, which was a good thing, because we were quickly going to jump on IBC to seek an explanation as to what was happening, because that was going to be a bit scary. But because they were willing to come out, give statements and show us, we were reading those statements and watching what the next move was with a lot of uneasiness, you know, tension, looking to see exactly what was happening. But they seem to have developed a bit of more shock absorbers and being able to manage the process themselves.
Right.
And I'm not saying that parties are still not giving feedback to IBC, especially on issues like that simulation, which we were very quick to tell them it fell below the standard, the first simulation. The second one came in much better than the the first one. The second exercise was much better, but we still give them feedback to say it has to be more user-friendly. You have to make sure we are not looking for our forms everywhere. Don't throw us in the bush on 9th of August at 5 o'clock, where I'm looking for a form for a certain polling center, and I can't quickly trace it. You must make sure it's in a folder where we can quickly extrapolate that information, and I am able to verify my form together with the one that I have been given by the agent. So I think if IEBC resists every move, this is important. If IEBC resists any interference, both internally and externally, and chooses to listen to the voter, and this goes also to not just the IEBC at the national level, because you see on many occasions, Sam, we get to deal with the chairman and the commissioners and the secretariat at Nairobi. But IEBC does not stop there. It's a very big structure that is running right down to the presiding officer.
Right.
I am hoping that in the training of IEBC to this presiding officer, they have understood that power has been delegated right from the top by the chairman down to the presiding officer, especially on the presidential vote, to be the one to count, to tally and declare a result on that polling station on a certain form. Once they understand the delegation of power, it's like wamekatiwa kidogo, hiyo mamlaka, to do the bit that is involving 700 voters. Every station must not have more than 700 voters. It should be up to 700 voters. So a presiding officer cannot return to us 752 votes. You understand how you destroy, how a result can go wrong. If the presiding officer of IEBC has understood their task and their mandate, they'll be the ones who will allow results to trickle into the national chairperson of IEBC,
right,
and will give peace to Kenyans by doing the right thing at the polling station. So for me, I would continue to say IEBC should not be interfered with by anybody.
Right.
Let the executive leave the IEBC, any other factor, any other political groupings, ourselves, the Azimio camp, even the Wajakoya's team or presidential candidate Mwaure, we leave the IEBC to do its work and wait for the results in the evening of 9th August.
All right. And of course, there's an important thing happening today. On Thursday, High Court will rule whether IEBC will rely on Kim's kits as the only mode of voter identification in the August polls or not. Of course, several groups had gone to court challenging IEBC's decision. And of course, already a decision has been made between IEBC and the stakeholders that the manual register will be available, but it will be a last resort sort of document. But I'm just wondering if, because one of the reasons why IEBC was saying they are going to have Kim's kits, the digital register mainly, initially, was because there has been some collusion done by officials at the polling station. What challenges have you faced in identifying the right agents who will not be compromised in favor of your opponent, Kanchory?
You know, Sam, that question I think has to be answered in the context, first of all, of the manual register. What is the role of the manual register? What is the role of the electronic register? So the issue of the manual register, and it's an issue we've had discussions on and so, for a long time, is still not, for some reason, has not been very clear. But I'm happy that there's going to be a decision on Thursday that will, because whatever the court says on Thursday will be what IEBC has to do, right? So we as Azimio, just to make it clear, we are not saying that we use the manual register to identify voters. We are saying let us use the electronic register, which is in the Kim's kits. Okay? So the electronic register is installed in the Kim's kits. And we are saying for identification of voters, let it be the first resort is the Kim's kit. You put your thumb, you put your biometrics, whichever finger that will be read. And if it doesn't identify you, we need a quick fallback plan. So the manual register from where we're seated should be deployed as expeditiously as possible to ensure that the voter is not frustrated.
Okay.
in terms of being identified. Because the register is an entry point in an election. Yeah. So without being identified in the register, whether it is electronic or manually, you cannot vote.
Sure.
So no, Veronica, now I think.
But I also want you to be very specific to the question of integrity.
Yes.
It's okay.
No, it's fine.
The question of integrity, because if you are in some polling station in County X, and all the people there, it's a predominant region, let's say the stronghold of William Ruto, you have an agent there, and they are compromised, or for her case, it's a stronghold of Raila Odinga. Most of the poll officials, most of the agents there, they are, of course, from that community. They can be compromised. What have you done to ensure that they retain the interest of your candidate and of your party?
So, you see, that is a lesser evil, because it is an evil we can manage, right? So we cannot manage, despite how robust we may make our agents, we cannot manage what happens with the KIMS kit, correct? We cannot manage the KIMS kits themselves. We cannot decide whether they work or they fail. And that is why we are saying, once they fail, let us resort to a manual mechanism that we can manage. We can manage it in this way. We can ensure that our agents, our agents who will deploy in all the polling stations are there to ensure, because there is a legal process of resorting to the manual register. A form has to be filled, the form 32A. All right? A form 32A has to be filled to show that this person was identified by or through a manual register. Okay. And that form has to be signed by the presiding officer, and it has to be signed by the agents. All right? And we have to, Sam, we have to anticipate a situation where the manual, the electronic register will fail. Because in 2017, these same kids did not identify 2.5 million voters.
2.5 million voters.
Yes.
I'll check on that figure. But
it is correct.
Allow me to... I'll check on it. Veronica, the question I'm asking is not specifically on the manual electronic register, but about the integrity of these agents, because if all of them can sit down and agree, let's alter these results. Remember, the results at the polling station is final. So what have you done to ensure that your agents remain loyal to you, whether they're in your strongholds or the strongholds of your opponents?
First of all, it's at the point of recruitment where you can get a good agent or a bad agent. A good agent is the one who is loyal to the party, loyal to their candidates, who does not sell cheap. A good agent is the one who, if they are offered 5,000 by an opponent, they will mind about their name, they will mind about the integrity of the process, and they'll be able to tell, they have the discretion to know that 5,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings may not sort out their issues ultimately, but that the future of the nation of Kenya depends on how good they do their job. Because the one person who is independent and who watches the integrity of that whole voting system is the agent. The agent is like the eye of the candidate. The agent becomes like the candidate. They get donated to the powers to speak for the candidate in every polling station. And once they understand the importance of their role, they take it seriously, because they will end up signing a form. And it's important that you sign a form you believe in, you can stand by before man and before God. Once we understand the ethics around and the morality around an agent being a person of respect, of loyalty, of integrity, a person who cannot sell cheap. That's the kind of a person you first identify. That's one. Number two, an agent who is able, for instance, to perform the task. Are they qualified? Can they take a photo of that form? Will they understand the reading? Can they understand the counting? Once they are able, they are qualified, they are loyal, the candidate or the party takes care of what they need to be taken care of for the day. For instance, our agents, you get they are volunteers to a very big extent, but they might get a simple allowance for transport because you want them to move from one point to the other, or get some little airtime to be able to transmit the result. Because the kind of a work an agent does it should not be so much on the commercial aspect of it. It should be more on what are we delivering to Kenyans, what is the future of the Kenyan. So for me, I would say loyalty is important, integrity of that agent, and the ethical, moral thing of somebody being able to take the right discretion when doing their task, and the understanding that they become the eye of the candidate.
Okay.
That's one. Now, when you come to the KIMS kit, electronic voter identification, and whether we should use manual or the KIMS kit. Now, you know people are registered through the KIMS kit. The same way you were registered through the KIMS kit is the same way you'll be identified, because your data should be in the KIMS kit. I have good news for my friend here, Kanchory. The same register that you be in the KIMS kit is the one that you be in the manual.
The printed register.
Do you get?
Right.
So there should not be a fascination with the manual.
Okay.
If you don't appear in the KIMS kit, you will not appear in the manual system. Now, the alternative of you not being able to be identified through the fingerprints will be the alphanumerics. The use of alphanumerics.
Yes.
Alphanumerics, you mean, they will take your ID card, the presiding officer, they will take your ID card, or the clerk, they will key in your ID card number. Once they key in your number, your data will come up.
All right.
So that will show you are still in the register. It's just that maybe your fingerprints are disfigured.
All right. Veronica, we are past time. I want to take feedback of what...
I didn't finish.
We'll never finish. Let's just take a quick look at the feedback of what Kenyans are saying via Twitter. Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is daybreak. And we begin with Engineer Lazaro, who is saying parties or coalitions shouldn't be allowed to announce their results outside IEBC. The only body mandated by law is none other than IEBC. We don't want tension anymore. Athanas Mavuti, the most important part is the transmission of presidential results from county tallying center. Actually, it's from the polling station.
It's a constituency, actually.
To presidential tallying center. It should be keenly and transparently done to avoid vifaranga via computer coming up again. W1C2, we voters have remained uninformed by IEBC and the political parties concerned on issues about voting, like expired passports and lost identity cards. Can these agents come out clear and explain, since IEBC has remained quiet? You will need your document that you used to register.
Sam, may I request something?
Just hold on. Yes.
They have written something there on Citizen.
Yeah.
That I have said we will prepare. They've put petition in bracket. That's not what I said. Request your team to be accurate on that. I said our legal teams are preparing.
Okay, let's finish.
Not for petition.
Let's finish
Let them delete
looking
that,
at the feedback, Veronica.
I'll request that.
Obed, right. Well done in that moderation. Thank you for reminding us that those two worked together. No one should take them seriously. They are politicians with no fixed position. No matter how eloquently they persecute, they are shifting position.
True.
Well, that's Obed.
That's
true.
She's saying that is true. Chalo Wodrozi, someone seeking the highest office in the country should not talk recklessly the way DP Ruto has been talking of late. He's really revealing his true colors. That is Chalo Wodrozi. There's a viewer, I lost the name. They were trying to correct me in the era of fact-checking that your board chair, election board chair, is not an engineer, that he's a teacher. What is he? Anthony Mora.
Is that subject of this discussion?
No, it's
I think you can.
Through.
I would request that you invite him to the studio. He will take up those questions. I think it's only fair.
Okay, SG Veronica refuses to answer that.
No, because it is only fair.
Who's asking that question.
Yeah.
But you don't want to answer that.
No, not that I don't want to answer.
Right.
I'm just saying I think it is fair to call.
No, I said Engineer Anthony Mora. The viewer is saying that he is a teacher, not an engineer. So I was seeking clarity from you. You would know.
I would want those questions to be posed to the person. There are many questions that you will ask about even our presidential candidate, and we invite you to call them for
all right. SG Veronica will figure out for that viewer that Twitter us here. Thank you, both of you.
Are they going to revise that statement?
Yes, we will.
So that at least I can come back to this?
You're saying that you're not preparing for a petition, but you have legal teams?
We have legal teams preparing for whatever eventuality, and there will be many things even during the day. even during the day that you require a legal input, and we will be ready for that.
I think that's a fair opportunity for you to rectify that. Thank you, Veronica Maina, SGUD, and also Deputy Chief Agent of Kenya Kwanza's presidential candidate, William Ruto. Saitabao Kanchory, the Chief Agent of Azimio la Umoja's candidate, that is Raila Odinga. Thank you both for making time for us. And Martha Karua is the running mate.
Yeah, I'm for both of them.
So are we having final remarks?
See you some other time. For now.